Okay, just seen something on Twitter that made me think about the days of when I used to train a lot at a gym, and there's some serious shit that goes on with certain individuals who you end up using synthetic hormones for better gain, muscle gain, more energy, more stamina, and there's a big problem here. Synthetic is a big clue. It's just like drugs. Then, when you become addicted to drugs, it's because the body becomes reliant on that. People can get caffeine addictions because they don't feel like they can have enough get up and go first thing in the morning. Trying to get off caffeine causes severe migraines if you're getting big migraines and headaches. And coffee, strong caffeine or strong coffee is the only fix. Then you're addicted to caffeine. It's because, we get into the gym stuff in a minute. I mean, with the caffeine thing, there's receptors in your brain that the caffeine fits in. You get your hit, you're wide awake. But it doesn't quite fit. But it's slotting in there and it's kind of forced in there. It doesn't, something like this. I'm not an expert, but I think this is how it goes. And it doesn't, because it doesn't quite fit. And then once it's used, it's kind of deadening the effect of the stuff that should fit naturally. Nicotine, the similar effect, it does this as well. I may have butchered that. I'm not some details there. It's something like that. The point is, become reliant on it. So while I used to train at the gym, I wanted to be just healthier, and lose some body fat and build up some muscle. Because the job I had at the time was, sat my ass all day because it was technical soldering, and you just didn't get the physical exercise as much as you would have. Perhaps you work in retail or you're on your feet all day or whichever. And the friend I used to have a break with was getting overweight, and we suggested to each other, go to the gym, just try and get in shape. So we looked into it, what different things to do, and muscle is basically proteins, and to build more muscle, you're going to eat muscle. You are what you eat. What is meat? It's muscle tissue. So, started eating more chicken, up in intake, lowering the fat intake, but up in the good clean foods, and good energy foods as well. Potassium. I'm not going to give you any science lesson as to why potassium is good, but it's a good energy source. A lot of sports people eat bananas before they go running or exercise. Bananas, very rich source of potassium, and I certainly did what I could, and the guy I was working with got a different job for a while, so I carried on my own. We just trained together, but occasionally we still see each other and train together anyway, because just ended up popping into the gym at different days. Since we weren't working together, it wasn't like going to the gym tonight or whichever. Nothing was planned, so he did what he could as well. There was always those few people in the gym. You could tell they were on synthetics, just they were on something. And there was a check at the gym that no synthetics would be allowed to go in. You'd be checked physically, but what they do outside before they get in. Some of these artificial hormones that they use retain fluid in your muscle, So it makes you look bulkier or whichever. If you're doing things naturally, when you're lifting weights to build muscle, which by the way, more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism will operate, because it's a response. So the body thinks, oh, we got this much to maintain it. All right, we need to process this food to deliver the nutrients to maintain this. Then we don't want a trophy. It's just seen a trophy mentioned on Twitter. This comment as well. I was just trolling Twitter just now, just looking around at different things and being very busy with different things, with article for Exploratory Minds and all that, but just having a break and trolling Twitter. And that struck me, that reminded me back in the day we used to train. And these trim, ripped, but individuals, you can get that image. And then there's an individual that's bulky. Doesn't look like they got fat, but the muscles kind of bulky and kind of wobbly. Like mass, it's because there's more fluid in there. When you're lifting weights and going back to your muscle fibers are tearing. So let's say, they tear apart, so there's a gap. You can't, once you train and there's enough tearing, lactic acid builds up. I think it's lactic acid, but that ache, that pain you start to feel after so many repetitions. And stretches might help get rid of that a little bit. But if you keep going while there's that, you just get more trophy than you will if you just let the muscle rest, and then when it's teared apart, when you have the rest period, it starts knitting it together, and you got slightly more bulk. Do it again, come back together, you get a bigger muscle. So we would train like upper body, and lower body. One day to lose a body fat as well, we just do cardio separately. Cardio one day and muscle building a separate day is another thing that people get wrong as well in their idea of like just hitting everything randomly, doing everything they can, whether it's wise or not, and they don't succeed. They may have short-term successes, and the worst short-term successes is artificial hormones. So just in these people, you could have somebody who's trained hard enough on the days they train and eating the right things, particularly at the right times of day as well, who could lift something really heavy in front of somebody who looks far bulkier, and you think, oh, that'd be nothing for that person. They struggle because it's not muscle fibre, it's fluid. And these artificial hormones, synthetic testosterone, causes fluid retention, which is not always good for the body. The body is like, I don't know, what is it, 80% water or whichever, but retaining it is not always good. And you need to give that out. Being dehydrated though is obviously a bad thing as well. You get imbalances with these synthetic testosterone, in which you have random imbalances so much that there is a estrogen production, free estrogen in a male body, even though our bodies don't utilize it, our cells take up the testosterone. But because of these imbalances, some of them end up getting breast, and then they have to take something else to mitigate that. And sometimes this can happen just by accident in people, or something that is beyond their control and it's not really their fault. And there's herbs that can bring back the balance, and they do work. herbal medicines and things like nettle root, something like that. Forget the exact name. Some kind of nettle that help bring back the balance. Ginkgo biloba is another one. It's adaptogen, encourages the balance to come back. There's no exact science to those, but they appear to work from people who have said, I tried this, here's my review, here's my, there's many forums out there, bodybuilding forums and all that. So I think that, yes, there is some evidence that these things work and bring balance back and give you energy. Ginkgo also good for the skin and so on. I have occasional skin problems through the winter. I've kind of mitigated some of that via my diet as well. I have some allergies. So, that's something else to combat it, which is natural foods, not synthetic drugs. And I think in the UK it's not bandied around so much, it's not prescribed. If you go to a doctor and you've got no energy, no sex drive or whichever, you get prescribed synthetic testosterone by some doctors. I don't think that happens in the UK as much as it would perhaps happen in America from what I've been reading. And I saw this on Twitter and it just, it's saddening. Men who are on artificial testosterone have literally reported the balls have shrunk. There is testosterone generated from not just your testicles, but from adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys, by the way. That happens in women as well. Women have some T and testosterone as well. Obviously, their bodies are geared to utilising estrogen for everything to work for the female biology, and the opposite for the male biology. They find a lack of concentration as well. They get brain fog as well when they're on this. There's many problems here, and they get stuck in that loop and say, they get a buzz out of this when it's working fine for them, and they get that short synthetic buzz that they would have got long term if they just had the right foods to encourage the body to do things naturally. This is why some of these herbs work fine. If you don't overdo the herbs, even everything should be in balance. Used wisely. I've used ginkgo myself. Apparently it does help sex drive as well, but I don't know what to report on that. But I've used that for mental focus. Ginkgo biloba, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a root from a plant, a Chinese herb, and I've used that for mental focus, which I think it works, but it also improves your skin as well. It works for me. Is it placebo? Well, maybe, but even if it's placebo, the placebo effect needs to be studied more rather than going, it's just in your head. It really does need to be analysed more. I think looked into more. Out of my interest, what ginkgo did for me mentally, enough mental focus, which I have issues paying attention sometimes, because for me, as I've complained about myself, I do ramble on these videos a lot because one thought floods in multiple associated thoughts and I veer off track. It's not like losing concentration, it just feels like there's too much all at once. But I'm more controlled and stayed on track with certain different foods that I eat. I've noticed that. So yeah, we did it all naturally, as much as we could. Really bulking up properly, like larger muscle masses, is not easy. And I didn't really want that. I wanted some extra mass and losing the body fat and stay healthy, because, like I said, the job we had was sat on your ass all day. It just wasn't healthy, and I've always had that occasional craving for certain foods, sweet tooth, as they say, sugary foods. I've been eating melon today. I've cut a whole huge chunk out of this watermelon. So I still try to stay healthy with foods. Very controversial would be every other day fasting. If you can do that, starting it would be wise to slowly transition yourself into it if you want to lose body fat. Do not do it if you're a diabetic or you have other ailments and you get particularly lightheaded from it. And perhaps look into things a bit more before you do that. I've done that. I want to try that again. I've been more strict with my own diet recently because there's some body fat I wanted to lose. Because eventually I'm going to go back to the every other day thing myself, and it didn't make me ill. Felt like believe it or not, I felt like I had more energy, and then this seems like you get a knee-jerk response to that. It's mostly psychological. I think from people, you tell them you're doing that, you think, how are you doing that? It's fluids one day and just your foods that you would eat the next day, then fluids another day. Some people do fluids like your waters, your cup of tea, whatever you're drinking, and then eat 2 days, and then 1 day off, and then eat another 2 days, and then 1 day off. Whichever. Intermittent fasting would be rather than every other day. Sometimes it's difficult to fit around your lifestyle. Some friend will call you and say, do you want to come out for a meal or somewhere, or meet at the bar, and it'd be your day that you're not eating? Well, you're not going to always say, oh no, to your friends all the time. So, there's ways to change it here and there without making it too random as well. But it can be hard work. The first few days going into it is very psychological. You think you're going to be hungry, and then therefore you think about what foods you're going to have, and then you kind of get hungry. Mostly psychological. You just put your foot down with it. The thing is, though, when I was in a routine of doing this, I lost all of my cravings. It's like if I thought about eating an ice cream or chocolate bar or one of my favourites I normally would, I think, yeah, that'd be nice right now. But it wasn't the same. It was like a big metal chain had been axed and broken away from that control that the food might seem to have over me. It's like you see a bag of donuts or something, you go, come on, I'm tasty, you want me. It wasn't like that anymore. It was, I chose my foods. They didn't choose me. Kind of. That's a whole other video on, your gut bacteria in your makeup and what's causing cravings, I guess. Perhaps I'll do that one day. But it was fascinating. I didn't think it was possible to get rid of cravings like that. It was just a completely new experience to me. Something completely changed. I just, it wasn't a problem. And I want to get back to that again, because the amount of control that you feel you've got there, it's it's a feedback thing. You think, yeah, I'm in control of my diet. I eat healthy enough. I don't need all these perks and all that. I like watermelon because it's got a sweet taste, by the way. There's natural sugars. You don't want too many sugars anyway, but there we go. Again, got talking about artificial. Some of the overly processed artificial sugars have been, people are warning about. And it looks like aspartame has been related to cases with cancers. Aspartame, although it tastes sweet, believe it or not, is not a sugar. So you were thinking, well, it's a sugar replacement, so it's therefore like sugar. Well, if you look at the history of aspartame, or aspartame, however you pronounce it, it was a drug for stomach ulcers. I kid you not, there's a whole history there. Go and look it up. Wasn't really that effective, but they seem to want to put this out there anyway. Pharmacies, there's a lot of conspiracies about the big pharma and drug industry being corrupt. Of course they're corrupt, because there is that threat of, oh, if you take this, you won't have this ailment anymore. No, if you take this, we patch up your ailments. We don't address the actual cause. We just address the side effects. Whereas the health food industry is very expensive because they're trying to get money for scientific support rather than woo-woo stuff. Out there's a shitload of it. To say, here's the review, here's what this does, and here's the reports from several people. So something else that I'm taking myself with herbs and made up of natural ingredients, like a supplement you can take, because of I thought some months ago about that, the ginkgo of mental focus, is this product. BrainSmart is a UK firm, which is handy for me because I'm in the UK, so once I buy it online it doesn't take too long to get to me. And in this is guarana extract, similar to caffeine but more like natural, more like your natural chemicals that fit into the brain receptors. And it doesn't give you that jittery buzz like caffeine can. You give you a nervous, jittery buzz, and it's just too much caffeine. It's awful. I don't like that buzz. Omega-3 powder, omega-3 as like the fatty acids, has been proven to be a good thing for like neurotransmission in the brain. Green tea extract. Green tea is full of antioxidant properties, which slows down cellular death, right? All these things. For me, I did this over time with a friend. We both noticed more focus on what we're doing at the time. It's like writing, I've got the article in front of me on body language now, and I'd just be reading it very intently, looking over, and I wouldn't be wandering off, looking out the window, or just, what do you want to look out there for? Why are you doing that? Is the kind of effect you get once, is it placebo? I don't think so, because the first time I tried this, it was like, the supplementation, the dosage is like you 2 of these a day, and they're tiny, they're small. Let me show you. Although things look bigger on camera, but there you go. It's relatively small. It works. They have a number of different versions of these different things on mental focus. Whether they work or not, I don't know. But again, this is natural ingredients. This is not synthetics. This is stuff that it's taken from plants and dried and powdered down. Like if you wanted ginger as say you can buy ginger root. If you want it in a powder form, you just dry it out and have it powdered down and put it in a capsule. That's kind of what they're doing. But there's obviously some processes and treatments they're gone through to preserve it, stop it going off, make sure the shelf line's okay. But when it comes to supplementing with synthetic testosterone, it's just there's some really big horror stories out there. Feeling of nausea, being sick as well in the mornings from people who have tried this as well. I was talking to a guy years ago about that, and he said he got off it, never again. He said his balls shrank. So it's things like that. If somebody goes to a doctor and says, I can't concentrate properly, I don't have enough sex drive anymore, or I feel weak, I feel lethargic, and they give you a blood test and they find your T levels are low, and then they give you these patches. Worst thing they could be doing, and these to me are not doctors, they're monsters. They just, are they getting commission from the drug industry and all that? Well, maybe, depending on how different systems work in different places. Not sure about probably America. I know I can be a bit conspiratorial minded perhaps, but there's no proof of those claims. But regardless, there are foods and supplementations that help your body do what it's meant to be doing anyway in a natural way. Coenzyme Q10 is a very strong antioxidant as well. That's in there. Antioxidants, again, this allowing your body to do things naturally in a natural way. They reduce the oxidation in your body, therefore cellular death is slowing down. Old age is basically your cells are dying faster than they can be renewed, and mistakes can happen when they are dividing and renewed, errors along the way. A lot of research in stem cell research is looking into mitigating those mistakes being happening. There's something else I'll be interested in, because again, ideas and things to talk about flooding in other sets of information. I had a tooth pulled out recently. Oh God, that hurt and very painful. Stem cell research is claiming it's very close to some kind of operation in the gum or something. You grow a new tooth. I kid you not. You're actually growing your own set of teeth. If that's really successful, it's like people don't need false teeth anymore. But now I have a gap there and a gap up here. This one at the top, and the gap that side was because guy whacked me in the face and cracked my tooth out. This one was because the filling had come out, and well, I wasn't very wise in how I approached that. I should have gone straight back to the dentist I was registered with. I didn't, because there wasn't a problem, but eventually a problem emerged, and the advice was, get it filled or blah blah. Really, they kind of loosely said you need it pulled out, but they can't make you do that. They just advise you. I said, well, if I'm going to have trouble further down the line, if you get it filled for me. If you fill it for me, then I want it pulled out now. And it's healed up fine. A few weeks ago, it's really sore. My face was swollen out, looking like a freaking gerbil, like when they stuff that food in your face. Anyway, I thought I'd make this video after seeing that, because anyone out there body training for any extra muscle mass or anything really, just to stay healthier and whichever, do not try synthetic hormones. And if you go into a doctor, whether you're training at a gym or whichever, or not, but if you're going to a doctor because you feel lethargic, you've got no energy, whichever, there will be an underlying cause. But cause and effect is, another thing. The side effects being patched up with a patch, actually being patched up with a testosterone patch, which some people are using. That's not addressing the underlying cause. And it could be something simple in your diet that you change that isn't very good for you. Maybe there's some allergy reaction to a particular food that causes a chain reaction, an imbalance in your hormones in your body. So, another thing is, your major hormones are made out of cholesterol. Believe it or not, we've all been told cholesterol is a bad thing. It is a bad thing when it combines and binds up with overly processed fats, which sticks to the inside of your veins and so on. But you could have a really high cholesterol and no problems. Drug industry don't address that because a lot of people with high cholesterol actually have these heart issues anyway. There's cholesterol lowering drugs. What do you think that does then? If the major hormones are made of cholesterol, you get less estrogen, less testosterone and other hormones and so on. But the major ones, those two, are made out of the cholesterol. Right. So men with symptoms, another thing that testosterone does, as well as estrogen, by the way, is help your bone density. Testosterone somehow has more effect on doing this, but estrogen does it as well. So if you're lowering, after menopause and getting to much longer after that, for years after menopause already, eventually many women report the joint problems, bone issues. They may even break a bone, the brittle bones. Men are getting these issues now. They didn't years ago, until they started introducing cholesterol lowering drugs and even changing foods like from butter to margarine. It's all about balance. Too high, too low, and there's problems. If you have really, really high cholesterol, by the way, I'd recommend that you lower it anyway for your own safety. I'm not trying to say to you like, oh, really high cholesterol's great because you have good estrogen levels or testosterone levels. No, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a biologist, but these are some of the things that I've observed and learnt over time. And there are things that I've seen, that just, you can tell those are on the gear. you get people talking about them in the gym. He's probably on something less than that. It makes them very aggressive as well. Extra T, testosterone. Makes people aggressive. Too much imbalance. Too low, you get tetchy and aggressive as well. Optimal balance is not too bad. It's just all about balance every time. Alright? And you see a lot of people also using supplements that increase your blood flow to areas of the body as well. I think that's harmless, really. Although you don't want to overdo that. Like, could it risk bleeding in some areas? It's basically dilating people's veins. Is like they called vascularity. That's like for extra lifts, getting the blood flow into your muscles and all that. There's supplements that do that. They are made out of the enzymes that naturally do that for you. We get excited, get a boner, and that's what happens. There's nitric oxide is built up in the body. What is it? It's forget what they call it. It's a supplement, arginine, I think. There's a precursor to nitric oxide in the body to do that. I think it's arginine or something like that. People who muscle building do that. How do I know some of these things? Well, when I was training, I used to browse over supplements and look at the forums as well. And even on the forums, there were people complaining about their health as well, because they end up later revealing that they're taking synthetics. To me, you wouldn't get this in nature, but it's not really a synthetic either. It's an extraction. It's not. I don't think this is dangerous. It works for me, particularly in retail as well. It's like a multitask better. Memorizing numbers seems to be better for me. I do have trouble with, I think it's called dyscalculia, having numbers in order. Like, I always flip them backwards, like 42, 24, 68, 86, 32, 23. They end up being 23, flip them backwards. And I work around that with pictures. A lot of people do. You turn like a storyline. People who have got trouble like that, they use different ways. I use pictures like some people do, and number 0 is like a ball, number 7 is like boomerang because the angle in it. 3, I'm not gonna tell you what 3 is because that's private. 3 is a pair of tits. If you flip it over, it's like that. It stays in your brain. There you go. I told you. Now you know. So basically, stay away from artificial things, I think, for hormones, particularly when it's hormones. But I want to get back to people if and when I start this every other day or intermittent fasting thing, because the cravings disappeared and I felt I was very in control and a lot more energy. My skin condition improved. I don't know if anyone noticed when I first, with some of Steve's crowd, when they first found me, I had some patchy skin then as well. But again, some of the webcams and devices I was using didn't really utilize the proper color spectrum anyway. Some cameras will do that, make you look all blotchy, and in real life you're not as blotchy as well. What threw me off the routine was comfort eating due to pain, when some idiot had a conflict with me that had nothing to do with him. It was a disagreement between me and somebody else, but he had to poke his nose in, tempted to throw me in a river, but discovered I was heavier, like bulkier, not because I was fat, but bulkier than he thought, I guess. Long story short, the conflict caused a severely twisted, sprained ankle, which swelled up like a fucking balloon, and so much swelling I could press it in, and the dent would stay there for a while, and you see it slowly fill back out. So I had to have some time off work on that, and let's just say he got what was due to him anyway. I'm not going to go into details on that. Yeah. Just another socially dysfunctional prick. One of those types that probably act like, an internet tough guy over the internet, I guess, and he was trying to be the tough guy in person as well. I didn't want to come back to him, but you got to protect yourself, because back of my mind was, what if he ends up in hospital? What if I end up in hospital? What if this gets worse during the conflict? So it pays to control yourself sometimes, or not, depending on what way you want to look at it. Because I did end up with a severe sprain. Regardless, peace out, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll look forward to doing another video again soon. And obviously what I'm working on at the moment is what I've been telling people I've been working on, is body language thing. The body language videos will go on the Exploratory Minds YouTube channel, not this one, and there'll be short videos here and there. It won't go into body language in depth, it's too big a subject. Every subject I put out, I don't go really heavy in depth of it. It's just you shout out some articles, do some videos, and find a new subject, do the articles, do some videos. That's how that channel works. Peace, have a great day, and I look forward to doing another video again. Cheers, bye.